Are you wondering how to make your home safer for little to no money? In this video, we're going to talk about 5 ideas for home security that I've used in the past that are free to cheap. Cheap to free. Both of those things. These ideas will help you keep dangerous people out of your home, alert you if somebody would actually make it into your home, and give you a plan of action to take just in case somebody comes into your home. Stay tuned. Maybe you're considering leaving an abuser. Maybe you already have. Maybe you're dealing with a stalker. Or you're a college student. Or you're a single woman who just wants to feel safe in her home. If any of those things apply to you, then this video is for you. Unfortunately, violence does not skip you just because you're broke. So, we're going to talk home security for the broke. Free to cheap. That's the way to go. Although I've upgraded to regular video cameras, actual video security system at this point, when I first became aware that my life was in danger, I was broke. I was a single mom raising 2 kids on about $10,000 a year. So getting a security system that was going to cost hundreds of dollars just wasn't practical for me. It was a pipe dream, if we're being real. But that doesn't mean that I needed the security any less. And it doesn't mean that violence was just going to surpass me because I was too broke to be able to respond to it. A bonus tip and a gift will be waiting for you further down in this video, but for now, the content that we're going to cover in this video includes using peepholes or looking out the window before you open a door, magnetic alarms, flip locks, also known as swing bar locks, piling things in front of windows, and rearranging your house. The only things in that list that are going to cost you anything at all would be the magnetic alarms, which are super cheap, and the swing bar locks, which are also just a couple bucks. Okay, so tip 1, look out your peephole if you have a door with a peephole, or look out a window before you open your door. I know this is like super common sense, it's super easy, but people still don't do it. You don't have to open your door unless you want to. You don't have to open your door even for a uniformed police officer, if I understand correctly, unless they have a warrant or they're responding to a 911 call. Other than that, you have the authority to not let people in. I know somebody who has recently gotten more stuff stolen from them, from the same person, and they're just bewildered, they're ticked off and stuff because they're losing their stuff, and I'm like, how did they have access to your stuff? Well, they took it while I was sleeping. Why were they in your house? So that they would be there to be able to take stuff while you're sleeping. You are your main line of defense, your first line of defense. Don't let dangerous people in your house. If it's somebody that makes you feel unsafe, if it's somebody that you don't trust, if it's somebody that you think might steal from you or harm your family or pet your dog in the wrong way, you do not have to let them in your home. And that starts with really simply looking to see who's at your door before you open it. Tip 2, flip locks or swing bar locks. First of all, keep your doors locked all the time. There's a safety tip for you. Whether you're home or you're not home, keep your doors locked. There are people that will target your home, whether they know you or not. Whether you are home or not, daytime, nighttime, keep your doors locked. So, swing bar locks. You may or may not be familiar with them. I will leave a link below on how you can get to that blog post on my website. I have pictures on it of everything that we're going to talk about. So there's a picture of a flip lock or a swing bar lock on there so that you can see what that looks like. But you usually see either these on a door for some extra security or a chain lock. The problem with a chain lock is they're not secure. They can be cut pretty easily, I think, with bolt cutters, which provides no security at all. And also, I've seen a lot of places where they, can kick the door in and that comes right off. So a swing bar lock is thicker and more sturdy. The added tip I would give you there is that the longer that the screws are that you're using, the more secure it's going to be, the more anchored it's going to be, and so the harder it's going to be to pull those out. So if you use itty bitty screws, you're not going to have a whole lot of security with this. But if you use some long screws, you're going to be good. This is also a good alternative. Obviously, deadbolts are the way to go. The locks that are on your doorknob are only going to keep out people that you don't have to worry about keeping out anyway. They're really pretty pointless. deadbolts are the way to go for door locks. But some places, some rental places, you know, your landlord might not be okay with you cutting into the door or cutting into the door frame to be able to install a deadbolt. So swing bar locks are an okay alternative. They're not as good. You could probably put more than one on. That probably would increase the security, but swing bar locks. The other thing that's going to cost you some money are magnetic locks, also known as contact locks. They're really inexpensive. You can find them at Walmart, you can find them at Menards, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, probably any kind of hardware store. What they are is they're little like rectangle plastic things. Okay, you put one side on a wall, the other side goes on a door or a window, and there's a magnetics inside of those that when they're connected, then they don't go off. But if it moves because you've opened a door or opened a window, either direction, then they alarm. And they're obnoxious and loud, which is exactly what you want for an alarm. So super cheap, really, really helpful. Somebody from the outside is not gonna be able, there's no wires to cut, they can't do something like that to disarm it. It's gonna go off. My little sister uses these in her home because she's got small children, and it's helpful because then she knows if one of the small children is trying to get out of the house and she's still asleep, it'll wake her up. So it's like multi-purposed, well worth your money. I highly recommend it. The last two tips that I have for you are things that I came up with on my own. Maybe somebody else out there's doing it. I'm sure that they probably are, but I didn't read it anywhere. Tip 4 is to pile things in front of your windows. If you do not have the money to go even get the contact or the magnetic alarms, that it happens, okay? So if you're that broke at this moment, then you can just pile stuff in front of your windows. Children's toys are good for this. Blocks are good for this. Legos can be good for this. What you want is something that somebody is not going to be able to get into that window. So I would do it maybe not necessarily for like high up windows that are not going to be a big deal, unless you believe that there's somebody that is trying to get into your house that would do that, and then do those windows too. But you know, like a entry level right off the porch window on in your living room type of a thing. Put a bunch of crap in front of it, piled it so that they can't climb through the window without knocking everything over and waking you up. That's a good plan. The other thing is rearrange your house when you have a breakup. Obviously, you're not going to want to do that with every single breakup that you ever have. I get that. But if you have a breakup with somebody that you believe is dangerous, they have some kind of a history of violence or domestic abuse, or your intuition is telling you that they're dangerous for you, why make it easy for them to come back in and know their way around your home and be able to find you and hurt you that much easier? Some years ago, after I had a breakup, I rearranged my house and I flipped my living room and my bedroom. I completely changed the rooms. And then later on, I don't know, a month, 2 months later, something like that, I was out putting Christmas lights up and I noticed that the window that was right next to where my bed was before, somebody had opened it from the outside and they were trying to get into my house by my bed. Now fortunately they weren't able to make it all the way into the house, which is good, but had they would have had an interesting awakening because I wasn't in that room. I wasn't sleeping there, and I would have had a better chance to hear somebody in the house and be able to respond accordingly than I would have had they shown up a foot or two away from my head. You know what I mean? So I definitely recommend that. Now you don't have to move rooms from one room to another. Like, that's an option. Obviously that was an option that I used at one point, but you can also just rearrange furniture within the room too. If you are concerned about people breaking into your house through windows, you know, I told you to pile crap in front of your windows, you can also put large furniture in front of your windows. Rearrange it so that those entry points are covered. That's okay. And it's free. I want to share with you a quote. I put it in the blog article, but it's from C.R. Jan, who's the author of No Bullshit Guide to Women's Self-Defense. He says, the vast majority of the time, it's a boyfriend, domestic partner, or a roommate. Sometimes it's a date or a friend of a friend who initially seemed harmless. Take a close look at those you let into your home, and especially those that you choose to be intimate with, as an abuser is far more of a threat to you than a random criminal. I completely agree. Statistics agree. Remember those peepholes. and looking out your window, and be very cautious about who you let into your home. Now, I told you that there was going to be a bonus tip and a gift, so if you're still with me this long, thank you. I appreciate that. The bonus tip is video cameras are good for being a deterrent as well as taking evidence of a crime that's been committed. Now, obviously, we don't actually want a crime to be committed in the first place, but it's nice to have the evidence if something happens. On the flip side though, if you do not have the money to get a security camera system, that's okay. Another cheaper option for you is there are dummy cameras out there, or fake cameras. I don't know what they're actually called technically. I call them dummy cameras. But there are some that I used before that I know that you can find that actually you put batteries in them and they have a light that flashes so it looks like it's on, and sometimes they'll even swivel just like a real camera. So while there are definitely some really cheap looking, crappy, not realistic dummy cameras out there, there are also ones that you can get that really look like they're the real thing, and they still act as a deterrent. You're not going to have any evidence if somebody actually does break in, but they don't know that, and thus is the deterrent. Now, for your gift, there's a link in the description for a safety plan template that I created for you to be able to print it out and go through, write stuff in it, plan, think about, and then practice those safety plans. That's going to give you an idea of what to do when you're in the heat of the moment and you're not really thinking. You're going to know, just as important as fire safety plans are at school, or tornado safety plans, or earthquake safety plans, or shooter safety plans are. The same is true for your home. You need to have a plan for what happens if there's an intruder. What happens if there's a break-in and it's a complete stranger? What happens if it's somebody? What happens if it's my kid's dad who breaks in the middle of the night? What are you gonna do? What are your kids gonna do? What should they do? Where should they go? How are you going to prevent them from putting themselves in harm's way trying to save you? And something else to consider, as terrible as it is if he was to get your child and try to use them against you, how would you handle that? Like, these are things that you need to think about, especially in domestic violence situations. Thank you for sticking with me. I look forward to talking to you more next week. Until I see you again, stay safe.